So yesterday I went on another panel and I was talking about Lil Nas X's new album cover where he is mocking, but just in general he's portraying Christ up on the cross, and he says something about like I'm J Christ or something, and he says like it's the greatest comeback ever or something like that. I don't know all the details, and I'm not going to show it because it's blasphemous and lewd, and I'm not going to molest your eyes by saying that garbage. But I was on a panel and they were talking about that, and I was weighing in on my opinion because I'm, Christian fundamentalist, and people like to hear the crazy stuff that comes out of my mouth because it's so rare to actually hear sound Bible doctrine that it's almost like a sideshow. But anyways, I was up there, and the host, he was really harping on the fact of, Muslims don't tolerate this kind of stuff. Jews don't tolerate this kind of stuff. If mocking Hinduism was a thing, I don't think Hindus would tolerate it either, but that's not really something that you see ever. But, just mainly about Muslims. And it's like, Muslims do not play about you saying a crossword about Muhammad, saying something slick, painting a picture of him, whether it's supposed to be glorifying or not. They just don't play about their figures, their idols, I guess you could say. Well, yeah, but they're spiritual people. They don't play about stuff like that. And he was like, why don't Christians have that same kind of attitude? And someone else brought up a really good point, which is the fact that the Quran tells Muslims to act in a violent manner. It tells them to, slay the infidels and, slay people who are bad-mouthing Muhammad and, just kill all the people and stuff like that. The Quran explicitly tells them to do those kind of things. So when they do it, they're not acting out of character. They're not going against their beliefs. They're doing what they're supposed to do. But in Christianity, we fight not against flesh and blood. And it's a complete and fundamental difference, which is why Christians and Muslims are not brothers and sisters. We're completely different in religion, but that's just, another side point. But yeah, just the fact of how, in Christianity, it's repeated in the Old and New Testament, because a lot of people kept going back to the Old Testament. It's like, man, the God of the Old Testament, he was cracking heads and he didn't play around. And it's like, why is the God of the New Testament so weak and feckless? And it's like, it's not that. It's really just the fact of, we have to understand the fact that our enemy is not people of this world. The goal of Christianity is not to overtake all the evil people in the world and make the earth, as it stands right now, a perfect place, and that we're just going to have peace and harmony on earth. That's not the goal. We know that what's happening right now is transient. We know that this is a fallen world. We know that the devil is the prince of this world. We fight not against flesh and blood. And we know that, God said to be still and he'll fight our battles. And so that's why Christians just have a completely fundamentally different viewpoint when it comes to people bad-mouthing our people or our God or our, symbols of our religion. Like when Sam Smith and that tranny thing that he was performing with at like the VMAs last year or the Grammys or something, when they did that whole, mockery of Christ where I think he was on a cross or something, I don't remember exactly, but, that was a big thing back then. And when they were doing that, when Katy Perry was like offered up burned at the stake at like the VMAs, like, 5, 6, 7 years ago, when all of these celebrities do all this blasphemous, idolatrous trash, I'm not batting an eye at that. The heathens will rage. It's not a surprise that the unsaved are going to unsave, because that's what they do. That's just how they are. They're children of the devil. And so that's what they're going to do. Like, it shouldn't surprise us, and it shouldn't, get us whipped into a frenzy every time heathens act in a heathenous manner. And so, this is their world. This is where they're going to have their fun. As an unsaved person, right now is the best it's ever going to be for you. So live it up, eat, drink, and be merry and have a grand old time, because the second you breathe your last breath, you are going to open your eyes in hell, and that's where you're going to stay for all of eternity. While Christians, this earth is going to burn up regardless if there's a Republican in the White House, regardless if we shut down Lil Nas X, if we get rid of all the foul, lewd, obscene music off the radio and videos and all that stuff. It doesn't matter. And I think that that's really where the disconnect comes in, is that Muslims are fighting for this earth, and they're fighting for, this current life, and it really doesn't matter at the end of the day, because first off, God is gonna, right every wrong, and He's gonna straighten everybody out at the judgment seat of Christ. And so, Lil Nas X thinks that he's getting away with this because, people like me, we're talking about it, and that's exactly what he wants. We're feeding into exactly what he's trying to get, attention. And so he thinks that, he's having the last laugh, he's getting a couple record sales from it, he's gonna go viral for a few weeks, and he thinks it's gonna be all funky and good. But lo and behold, God is not mocked. And that's something that I said on the show yesterday in a totally different context. But God is not mocked, friend. And so I don't need to, push anybody off a building myself. The government should do certain things, but, anyways. I don't need to go and physically attack anybody, because God is going to handle it all, and God is going to have the final say. And so what I need to do is I need to worry about myself and worry about my family, and, worry about trying to, spread light and love and peace where I can. I can't affect Lil Nas X. I can't go and talk to him. I can't go and smack him upside the head with a King James Bible. I don't have access to him. But what I do have access to are my neighbors. I have access to the people that live in my city. I can go soul winning door to door and get people saved so they don't listen to that junk and pollute their minds. I can do that. And so, if you want to do something I said yesterday on the show, that, we could all mass report, Lil Nas X's accounts, on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, we could do that. But it really doesn't matter, because he and all the people like him are, they're going to spring up, because this is their world. This is their home. And so, that's just the way it is. And so, friend, don't get discouraged when you see the heathens winning, because, Christ, He is going to come back, and He is going to reign, and He's going to have a rod of iron with Him. And, He's not going to take any of this junk, in the millennial reign and in the end. And so, they can do all they want. They can make all their blasphemous signs and posters and album covers and song covers. But, don't let it disturb you. Don't let your heart be troubled, is what I'm trying to say. Because God is going to have it all figured out in the end.